Gotta get the sheriff here.
Oh, we could do minutes while we wait for the sheriff.
Does he know?
Well, the sheriff isn't due here anyway. Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Grants. Oh, this is a public hearing for the grants, that's right.
Okay, I'll open a meeting of the Carroll County Commissioners for October 29th, 2014. At 8:30, we are to hold a public hearing regarding 2 grants that the sheriff is to apply for and receive. And we'll wait for him to come in. But in the meantime, we have minutes to approve.
Yep.
So we're open as a Board of Commissioners. We'll hold off the public hearing until the sheriff arrives, and we'll conduct board meeting minutes at this time. October 22nd, which was last week, we had a non-public meeting that the commissioners voted not to seal the minutes of this session, so it is open. I would make a motion, because there was only 2 of us here, make a motion that we approve the non-public minutes for October 22nd.
Seconded?
Since it was not sealed, I think we can do this in public, so all those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then so voted.
I've got to sign them too, don't I?
Yep. I have not heard from Commissioner Kenney as to whether she's coming today or not.
Surprise, surprise.
I do have, let's look at October 22nd, regular minutes. Do we have any corrections or items that we want to change? Come right up.
I read these last week, and I don't remember making any corrections, David, so I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of October 22nd as written.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So voted. You take care of these and get those to the right places.
We also had a set of September 10th minutes that have been floating around. They haven't been approved yet. Did you get a new copy of those printed off?
I would guess they're still floating.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We don't have them here in our packet.
Okay.
To get these out of the way, I have 3 checks to sign for Hale's location. One is for petty cash for $36. The other is for our secretary. And one goes to the town of Conway. One for telephone Fairpoint. If it's okay with the rest of the board, I'll sign those.
Go ahead. And don't forget, they want us to make an appearance up there for a commissioners meeting.
I think we had scheduled that for these.
15th.
Is what?
December 15th.
Yep.
Yeah,
Did you call them up and tell them?
I didn't know.
Are you going to?
9 a.m., Selectmen's meeting in Hill's location. Okay.
You want
Yes,
to
sir.
call- You want to call up? Or want me
Why
to
don't you
do it?
call
Okay. Kathy.
Kathy,
Okay.
since you had talked with somebody up there?
And to remind them to post it in 2 public places up there.
Well, it's a Selectmen's meeting, not a Commissioners meeting.
Well, they still have to post it. Selectmen still have to.
Probably a good idea to post it. Okay. We'll start the public hearing on the 2 grants. If you would explain, we'll start with 1 grant, explain what it's about, and then we'll see if there's any comments from the public. We'll go from there.
Might as well do the easiest first, I guess. The 1 grant is the Highway Safety Project Grant, and that's where it's a half purchase funding, and that's where we're going for 3 new radar units to outfit the cruisers.
So that's 3 cruisers with radar. What about the other? About the rest of them?
We did, the last time I believe we got new radars was 5 years ago, and that was in some of the other cruisers. So this would, there's 2 that are very outdated and they've had trouble certifying them.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll probably replace one of them, and then there's other cruisers without radars at this time too, so.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, good morning, gentlemen. Can you tell us how much, for the public, how much the grant is for? And it's for 3 radars?
Yep, this is, cost of 3 units would be $7,309.95.
Say that again, please.
$7,309.95.
Per unit?
No, that's for the total of 3.
For the 3, okay.
$2436.65 each. And divide that in half is what the county would have to pay, and then the grant would supplement the other half.
So what is the
The half
county's obligation here?
is $3654.97.
Is that presently in our budget?
It is. We did ask for this grant in the last budget cycle. Apparently there was a new page put into the grant package that we were not aware of, which is an intent page, meaning what do you intend to go for through the highway safety grant for that year. So this cycle began again in October, I believe it was, that it opened back up. They believe the funding would be available before the end of the year. So with it being in our budget, we should be able to capture it before the new budget comes around.
For the new budget? Okay.
So this was all discussed.
What are the government strings here? They don't give out
There's
money without
There's none.
none.
No, we own the radars after the purchase.
That's all.
Yep.
We buy
They don't
buy
tell you
them
how-
and they give us money. and
They don't tell you how
that's
many
it.
tickets you have to write or anything like that.
Okay. Doesn't say we can't use it for checking the speed of baseball pitches. or
Doesn't say
anything like
that, no.
Okay. And so we're looking at $3654.97.
Yes.
Dave, I think we ought to ask the grant review board. If they
Yeah,
had
I was just
any
going to
look at it.
ask. Go ahead, Ed.
I did have a question from a person from Ossipee, a resident of Ossipee, that was concerned that they had been pulled over by sheriff's deputies and they were wondering why they even have radar. They also wondered why you're getting more radar units when it appears by looking at the information that you sent in on the on the grant application that the totals have gone down. They also wanted to know...
Total number of radar units?
No, the total number of, I'm sorry, the total number of crash enforcement statistics numbers have gone down.
Okay.
And they were also concerned that what's going to happen to the older units, and is this just expanding how many deputies will actually have radar detectors in their cars?
Did the person complaining happen to tell you how fast over the speed limit they were going?
No, they were pulled over originally for a brake light being out.
What's that got to do with the radar?
They reviewed the grant.
Oh,
I posted this grant
Oh,
on the
okay.
internet, and people have been reviewing it, and those are the questions that I've gotten
I'm
so
sorry,
far.
Ed, I
Okay.
thought you were saying he was complaining that he got stopped by the sheriff on the radar.
Well, his concern was, he was wondering, he didn't even know that the sheriff's department actually does speed checks and stops. He thought that the sheriff's department's role was different. He didn't know that there was traffic enforcement.
No, it's not our primary goal for traffic enforcement. We supplement it with what we do for the courts and for the transports of prisoners. The law does allow us to investigate crimes and motor vehicle crimes. This county, as we have said before, is very unique from other counties in what we do, because we do basically what any other law enforcement agency in the county does, because there are 5 towns without police departments. So we do have to have that ability to do all types of investigations, at least in those towns. And of course, while we're driving through other towns, if there's a violation that's occurring, then we'll act on it.
Go ahead, finish.
So how many radar detectors do we actually have?
That we have 5, and then 2 very old ones. Yeah.
And they're all in operation?
As I said, one just passed certification as far as it was having some issues. And at this point, yes, they are all in operation. But we also have, to include my cruiser, which I will not be putting one in, there's 13 cruisers full-time, so you do the math, we're very short as far as outfitting the cruisers. And if we're driving all around the county and there's speed violations in front of us that are happening and we can't act on it because the cruiser doesn't have a radar and it's all lights and siren and stripes, I think it's, if nothing else, a good deterrent to have it and act on it.
You want to follow up?
Yeah, follow-up, and this is in reference to the, about need. It says, through citizens' complaints, speed citations issued, and vehicle crashes investigated, it has been determined that excessive speed is a problem. Where did that information come from? When you say complaints, just anonymous complaints from the road, or is this from reports from local law enforcement? Where are the complaints actually coming from?
5 towns of Eaton.
I know one complaint came from Eaton because of the village store and how fast people go through there. I've heard that one myself.
And again, most of it is the towns that we cover, the 5 towns that don't have law enforcement. They're the ones that are complaining the most as far as acting on speed violations. And I also hear it from Ossipee when I was campaigning. People saying that, we wish you could do something, and obviously I pushed them towards the local chief. That was in Wakefield and Ossipee that I can remember during campaign season.
Just want to add something. Somebody also complained in writing, and I believe you had a letter. It was also about the cruiser speeding, and you said you were going to respond to that letter. It was
Yeah,
also
sure,
a complaint.
talking way back about that.
It
accident?
was a while ago. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was an accident. It was just somebody was speeding.
Okay, Ed, finish up. You all set?
Yes, for now.
Go ahead.
In your study here, would you agree that there are no strings attached, or are there, in your estimation?
Just from what I'm observing, I don't see strings attached. I mostly see that the people that apply for grants don't disclose all the details to the elected officials before they're voted upon. That's my major concern. It's not really up to me personally if grants are accepted. It's is the information being given to you as elected officials to make that decision. And I heard that the funding comes from. Can you tell me as an elected official where this funding is actually coming from? That's something that we should disclose to the public, where that actually comes from.
Ultimately, if it's coming from the feds to the state to us, it's coming from our tax dollars.
Well, I believe that the public should know, is this coming from the New Hampshire Public Safety? Is this coming from gas tax money? Is this coming, how much of it is coming from the federal government, if any? I wasn't aware by looking at this there was federal money involved in radar detectors. I believe this is all highway safety money, correct?
Yep.
So it's within the state. And it's the portion of the money that comes from the gas tax that's supposed to go for the roads. Is that correct?
I have no idea on that. Yep, I would not have that answer.
Well, that in fact...
Where that exactly is coming out of their budget, I don't know.
That is actually a fact, though. That is where the money is coming from. It's a portion of the gas tax. But that information should be given to the elected officials and the public at the same time so they understand where that money is coming from.
Okay, any further questions?
Not on this grant.
Anybody else? Yes, Representative?
Glenn Cordelli. I was just wondering, Sheriff, I think you said you had money in your budget for the county portion of the grant, the 50-50 match. Where specifically in the budget?
This was in new equipment.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions on that particular grant, you want to talk about the second grant?
Should we accept one grant at a time, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Make a motion that we accept the
Point, I guess. These grants are, the applications on both these grants have been submitted with signatures from your board, with myself when needed. Both of these grants were discussed during the entire budget cycle from last cycle, at the meetings, at the public meetings.
Don't we have
this is not an approval stage as far as this.
Oh, okay.
The next step would be the approval by the state as far as, okay, we are or are not going to fund any portion of these grants. Okay. And then it would come to you for a signature that you accept that grant.
Okay.
I'll withdraw
so we don't need any.
I said no.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Next grant.
Okay.
Request.
And again, the next one is the basically the communications grant for the regional area. And again, we submitted this entire thing last year. We did not get approved for any funding of it. This is basically just a duplication for the most part, and with new letters from all the towns that would participate in it as far as they recommend going forward with this grant.
This is
to try and
dispatch.
Yes, this to try and upgrade the existing communications around the county, both for law enforcement and emergency fire and responders, through the Ossipee Mountain Valley Association. We're combined with them on this grant to make it a regional grant, which was one of the so-called requirements that they suggested. That
regional or county-wide?
It's regional as far as, which also serves the whole county. So.
Okay. And what's the total request?
Again, it's like this first portion, it's broken down into three different portions. And the first portion is basically just shy of $350,000. It's $349,995.
Say that again?
$349,995.
And that represents,
That
they can't represent the whole, they can't represent the whole thing because you
the-
came in for more than that last
Phase
year.
one.
Right, that represents phase one, which would be
Phase one.
the consoles and dispatch to be new. The ones that are there are obsolete, you really can't get parts for, they don't make them anymore. All the other county agencies that have these units are doing the same thing. Belknap has replaced theirs. It does also update new microwave links on some of the towers that would be needed. So,
And this will be in your coming year's budget.
and I would think they'll approach it the same way that they approached it last budget, with either a dollar or a zero line on the grant line.
Mhm.
And then if this is approved, they would come back for a supplemental session to approve the grant, to accept the money.
And we didn't encumber any from last year, did we?
No, we didn't.
Is there any county matching for this one?
We have not told them that the county would pay any portion of this. This is a no-match grant.
No match.
Yeah. I do know that one of the points against us from the last application was that a couple of the board members felt that the county wanted it all and wasn't willing to put anything into it, so.
Well, if it's a no match grant, we shouldn't be penalized for that.
Shouldn't be, but.
Yeah.
And again, other counties have accepted and received this grant in the last few years and basically done the same thing.
If I might, Commissioner, I don't think this is being penalized. I think that maybe the thinking might have been, could you, the county, have done one of the 3 phases? I think that might have been the thinking, not necessarily that you should pay 50% of the grant. That's not the thinking, because you're right, sir. This is a 100% grant, but they were thinking with a 3-phase process, shouldn't the county try to locally?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay. I got phase 1 and phase 2. What was phase 3? Did I miss it?
Phase 3 is the simulcast system. I mean, phase 2 was for voters and repeaters, and that again, have that whole funding page.
section.
The total grant on the 3 phases was, I believe, 1.3 million.
And where are these dollars coming from?
This is all federal funding.
All federal.
Dominic, is this being done in phases? I know last year you came in here and you wanted somewhere between 700,000 and 800,000, and then it was down to 300,000, and then
Yeah.
it was nothing.
Yeah. No.
Are the different counties able to take the government money and build phase 1 and 2 if they feel like it? And another county build phase just 1, and the third county build phase 1, 2, and 3?
No, I mean, each county's individual as far as applying for this grant. It has nothing to do with what Belknap does or Grafton does.
So if we got the money, we could do 1, 2, and 3 if they were to give us the whole
If they were to
package.
give us the whole thing, which is what we tried for last time.
Right, okay.
We tried for the max that was allowed, which was, I believe, just over
700,000
900,000.
something, yeah, 900.
This year, there is a little more money available, is what we're told. But we were also advised to maybe submit it as segments,
Phases. Okay, let's open up to the public. Ed, you got
Yes,
questions?
I have a lot of questions. First, I want to keep repeating for the public over and over again that this is not just a federal program, this is a Homeland Security Grant.
Mhm.
So you have to understand that's Homeland Security. I would like everybody to go to page 11. Do the commissioners have a copy of this?
I don't have it in front of me.
No.
Okay. On page 11 of the grant terms and conditions, it says on the bottom, let me get there. Page 11 of 11.
10, but not 11 of 11?
Yes. It's under the grant terms and conditions. It's after management.
I have 11 of 32.
Go ahead with your question.
Well, I'll read it. It says, audit requirements. The sub-grantee, which would be the county or the sheriff's department, agrees to comply with the requirements of OMB Circular A-133 audit threshold. Non-federal entities that expend $500,000 or more in federal funds from all sources, including pass-through subawards, in the organizational fiscal year shall have a single organization-wide audit conducted in accordance with the provisions of OMB Circular A-133. My question is there any policy or is there any way to audit? Do you have an audit system set up? Who pays for this audit?
I believe their audit means that they want to be able to, basically, you to be able to show them how you spent the money, what was done, and was it all completed as required by the funding.
It states, shall have a single organizational-wide audit conducted. But it doesn't state here, do we pay for that? Is this something that the county or the sheriff's department is responsible for doing, or is this something that the federal government comes in and does?
I think they do it, there's no cost.
I haven't been told of any cost, but I can certainly look into that.
And under that same number 6 audit requirement, is the funding going to go through the county business department or business office? Who actually receives the money, holds the money, and coordinates the money? Which department in the county?
The sheriff's department.
So in no way will the business department of the administration building be handling any funding that comes in from this grant?
The sheriff's department gets it on the budget, and all the billing goes through the business office, as anything else that we do here at the sheriff's office.
Is it billed as it is completed? In other words, we don't receive the funds. We receive it as you submit the bills back to this?
That I will have to look into.
Reimbursement?
The grant that we just completed had 3 different options on how the funding was done. That was a half grant. But you could either receive the money up front, or you could receive it as we did after all the invoices are done and submitted. We pay it all out, and then they reimburse us half.
Yeah.
Why would anybody not take the whole thing up front? There's got to be a catch to it. The government's not going to go around just hand you a check and say, okay, when you finish this project, let us know. Thanks, it's been nice to do business with it.
No, I think when I looked at, I don't remember the specific reason that I did not take the last one up front. It just seemed easier just to receive our invoices, pay it out, and then recapture
Get
the reimbursement.
Yeah.
Do I want $300,000 or $1.3 million sitting there as far as having to shuffle it around? But that is something, again, I can look at to see how they actually do it. I can actually call Belknap County and how they did it. And we may not even have a choice of how it's done. So
Go
we'll
ahead,
look
Ed.
into that funding.
My concern about the audit requirement is if the administration, if the funding goes through the administration office or the business office, and we've just had a performance audit done where it states that we're lacking financial controls, how is that going to be viewed by the grantee, which would be, again, I have to say in public, Homeland Security.
Yeah.
So that would be the first question.
Well, if he buys the material, pays for it, and then submits the request, that's a good paper trail right there. Correct?
But we still at this point don't know who pays for this audit. That's
the audit?
concern is the audit.
Right, I mean, that's a question, an answer we can't give you right now, which I will look into.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
On page 12 of 12, you have number 9, it says bonding. It is strongly recommended that all officials identified on this grant who have the authority to obligate, expend, or approve expenditures be bonded for an amount no less than the total amount of the grant. Are our elected officials and the people who are going to be involved in this grant expenditure bonded? And if not, does that mean the county has to pay for that bonding? Because I don't know if the deputies and sheriff are actually bonded. I don't know that.
Well, they won't have to be. I believe how it reads is meaning the commissioners, which handling the $26 million budget, I would believe that they would be bonded for that. But
I got to
again,
check on that.
something we can look
Way,
into.
way back, each department was bonded, and this is way back when I was first elected. I don't remember exactly what happened, but the bonds were dropped. We didn't have to be bonded, so there must have been some RSA or some law that stated that. I'd have to do some checking on that.
All the years I've been coming here on a regular basis, I've never heard anything like that mentioned.
Yeah, it was way back.
It says that the sub-grantee should be, the people who are going to be obligating the money have to be bonded. So that's another question.
Did it say should be or must be?
Shall be.
Shall.
Shall be.
Thank you.
May I go on?
Yeah.
Page 13 of 13, it's under number 21, continuation. The applicant agrees, that would be the county sheriff's department, that if the requested project is funded, continuation is not guaranteed. Does this mean, I'm not expecting you to know this.
Excuse me, Ed, would you repeat that?
Sure. Under number 21, it says continuation. The applicant, the county, agrees that if the requested project is funded, continuation is not guaranteed.
Continuation is not guaranteed.
So we could start the project, if I understand that properly, get funded for the first half. We've committed ourselves for the whole thing and find ourselves paying for the second half, as I understand it.
That is
Would that
what-
be true, Don?
That's what it sounds like. But again, it's 3 segments. Each one is separate from itself. If we get, say, the first phase, that phase alone does not destroy the whole project if they don't continue the second or third phase. The consoles are going to crash at some point in time here in the near future. They're that old. They're 15 years old. And again, they're not making parts for them. Everything else is all new technology. So if we get the first phase, new consoles, that's all well and good, and it will, the system we have will support that. If we have to get the second phase, this grant is not available, then we have to find other means to try and either through taxes, if we want to go forward with the project totally.
I guess I'm not concerned with the physical aspects of this, so we get the machines, we don't get the machines. I'm concerned with we get the machines and the federal government decides to cut the Homeland Security budget by 50%. And now they come back to us and say, hey, we're sorry, you've done half, you got phase 1 done or ordered, you haven't, but we don't have enough money to give to you to pay for it. I mean, what's the guarantee that I guess what you're saying is they're guaranteeing if we do phase 1, we'll get paid for phase 1. My concern is that we get started on phase 1 and the government changes its mind and decides it's not going to pay for it.
That's where it would pay for us to take the total amount right up front.
Well, I don't believe that reads that. You're saying if we get approved and get funded, then before we get those consoles delivered or in, they're gonna say we don't have the money in.
Right.
That's not what that says.
When they say
It says-
continuing, are they referring to going from phase, then you're saying they're talking about going
continuation.
from phase 1 to phase
Right.
2.
Ed, go ahead.
I have to keep repeating that this is a Homeland Security Grant. It's a federal grant, and I have to disclose, I'm sure the public already understands, that the federal government has gotten us into $17.5 trillion worth of debt. Within this grant period of time of 3 phases, by the end of this, if there's money left, we're looking at probably a $22 trillion debt, so I don't see how that can continue. But that said, under number 23 on page 13 of 13, it says data collection. It states, the recipient agrees to cooperate with any assessments, national evaluation efforts, or information or data collection requests, including but not limited to the provision of any information required for the assessment or evaluation of any activities within this agreement. Now, since Congress approved the Patriot Act, I'm concerned that this is a very open-ended grant agreement or condition. And does this mean that Homeland Security will show up at this county and actually request information on your system without any checks or balances? I mean, this sounds like a very open-ended agreement. If it said that they only want to collect data to make sure that it operates correctly, then that would make sense to me. But it doesn't say that. It says information or data collection requests, including but not limited to. So I don't know where this ends, and is this a slippery slope? You know, now that the government is good, maybe we're okay. But what's going to happen later on in the future when maybe the government's bad? They're going to have a system set up for data collection. I just wanted clarification on that, because that's one of the main questions I've gotten over and over and over again, was the data collection situation in this grant.
Yeah, I mean, it has not been discussed. We have not been told that there's any such data collection as far as, I'm guessing, personal information of anyone. Is that what you're?
Yes.
So yeah, this is a radio system for police and fire to use. There's really no data that they can collect, because this is not the spot system, which is what we run our checks on, as far as if we stop a motor vehicle or a criminal check. That's all within the state. Any entities have access to that if they have a legal right to get that information through investigations.
It states any request.
Yeah,
I think you understand my
I
concern.
hear your
on
concern,
that.
and I will address it with the board.
Now, on that note, if you go to page 23, it says best practices for the collection and use of PII. Do the elected officials here know what a PII is? And does the sheriff know what a PII is? And do we have one? And I'll tell you in a moment what PII is, if you don't know.
Where are you at?
Page 23 of 23 at the bottom. A PII is a policy that's supposed to be in place to guard personal identifiable information. And that's supposed to be in place before this grant is administered. And my question is, do we have such a policy in place?
Policy to protect private information?
Yes, it's best practices for the collection and use of personally identifiable information. And it says that all award recipients who collect PII, which would be the Sheriff's Department in that system, are required to have a publicly available privacy policy that describes what PII they collect, how they use the PII, whether they share PII with third parties, or how individuals may have their PII corrected where appropriate. And that policy would be important if we're to adhere to the grant requirements, and it would be important to guard the information that is collected from the Sheriff's Department from third parties.
I would suggest that you check with other counties that received that grant to see if they have such a policy.
Or even if they came, the feds came to check to see if.
Well, again, I mean,
I'll work.
there's state regulations and rules as far as the dissemination of any of the checks that we do, as far as who can have that information, how it goes out. If the public is asked for a police report, say, all the personal information gets redacted, as far as social security numbers, birth dates, in domestic violence, even addresses get redacted. So there are rules and regulations as far as how any police information is disseminated. Dispatches, if they give out any information, it's a misdemeanor as far as if they were to bring a record check home or something like that. So there's all kinds of rules and regulations set up through the system itself as far as that goes.
So
whether or not that covers that, I'm not sure.
Well, I would be officially asking for that policy, so I can review that also. So when we continue to review this grant, we can come back with more information.
Hey, do you got many more questions? Is this from you or from the committee? I guess the question.
It's from the committee and it's from the public.
Okay.
Because I actually sent this grant across the country. So I could be here for hours on hours, but I'm going to use most of that information in the review, so you'll get it in a report rather than do this in a public meeting like this. I guess I'll just I think I made my point that the elected officials really don't have the information needed to completely make a decision about grants in general. But the last thing I have to mention is I have to say that, again, this is a Homeland Security grant, and it says the title of this equipment is going to remain vested in the federal government. So I just want to make the public aware that the Sheriff's Department is receiving funding from the Homeland Security Department, and that the federal government is going to technically own and can commandeer this equipment when they need to. Can I just close? In this binder right here, this is a grant. This is a federal planning grant that was applied to HUD, EPA, and DOT.
This deals with the sheriff?
This deals with grants in general.
All right, can we keep it?
It's only a little paragraph on it.
All right, go ahead.
But this planning grant was applied for, and elected officials signed onto it without knowing the details. This is my concern about elected officials not knowing the details of grants. In this grant, it states the strategy to address barriers. This is a regional planning grant, so this is your private property. Anticipated barriers include New Hampshire's strong tradition of individual property rights and the subsequent resistance to planning and zoning. So basically what this says in this grant is that our private property is a barrier that HUD, DOT, and EPA have to break through in order to implement the agreements and the guidelines that are in the grant. I bring this up because this is a federal grant. This grant, if you don't understand all the little details in this grant, you are signing on to things and you're not doing your due diligence. Now, I don't really blame this entirely on elected officials, because this would take days to go through and analyze. It takes a long time. Our grant review committee could stand for 6 hours a day doing this. So how does an elected official make that decision? This is my case is that you're always asked to apply for grants, and there's no way you're given the information to make an educated decision. I just brought up maybe a quarter of the concerns people have in the grant agreement. For Homeland Security. Homeland Security now has the Patriot Act, which basically allows them to do anything they want. There's data collection in here, and there's other items. So all these questions have to be asked for all of our safety.
Okay.
That's my closing.
John?
Morning. I've always had a problem with grants, and maybe we need to take a historical look at where the grants originated from, their motives, who's behind them, where the money comes from, because I'm beginning to believe that money doesn't come from the people, the taxpayers' money. There's too much money involved. You know, county by county across the nation, you gotta be kidding me. Okay? When we start looking at the numbers. So that I think there's private organizations involved, maybe even the United Nations, I don't know. But I think that you need to take a serious look at where this all stems from. You know, the need for apparatus, that all began with 9/11. All the great fear placed on the people in the world. I'm beginning to disbelieve the information given to us by those who run this country. This fear has been arbitrarily cast upon us, if you will, that we have to move along and have all this apparatus here in our communities. Are you kidding me? Go back 50 years. All you did is beat the pavement. You don't need this stuff. But you look at the border. What's going on at the border? I'd like to see this money go down to the border, and sheriff and your department go down there too. I'll watch this here. Why are they letting all this in the border? To help support the idea that we got to have all the apparatus? When are we going to get our Patriot missiles and Abrams tanks for our county?
Okay.
How far does it have to go, is my question.
Okay. Your point is taken. Any further input from anybody?
My real question is where the money is really coming from, and the responsible parties, all the way up to the last totem pole.
That's why the nation's in debt.
Exactly. It's up to us to stop it, though. We don't have to take this stuff. Watch out for our own communities rather than being fed by some ulterior motive. You know, these programs could also be used to create programs lying in wait, if you will, when the incident should occur, caused by those who are trying to save the day, mind you.
Can I make a quick point?
Okay, go ahead.
Quick point, just quick point. What the sheriff is trying to accomplish right this moment with these dollars is a radio system where a fireman, a guy in the ambulance, and a police officer are in a vehicle that provides an emergency service in Carroll County, no matter where they are, in Chatham or Wakefield. I would ask Representative Cadelli to please check with the fire chief and the police chief in his community of Tuckerborough and ask them what they think of radio communications. It would really be eye-opening. So all we're trying to do here, we're not trying to do data collection. We have that with the state police online terminal system that's called SPOTS. We're trying to transmit from a car to a repeater back to our dispatch and not run into interference. Improve the radio communication. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to get a Bearcat today or a missile tomorrow. We're trying to get better radios to serve people in Carroll County.
Well, what I've witnessed already so far with Concord, for instance, I videotaped both instances. They had the money for the Bearcat. They didn't tell the public. After the fact, they have meetings for public input. You explain that to me.
Okay, I think we can discuss that if you want to talk with the sheriff's department about what you're bringing up.
Process, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, thank you for holding the public hearing.
Okay.
It was very good.
It was your request from your committee to have the public hearing, even though it's required by law. Okay, I guess any other further questions or comments you want to make regarding the two grants? No? Okay. Then I'll close the public hearing, and we'll move on to our normal meeting agenda. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Which brings us to public input. Anybody have any public, yes?
Good morning. I was just wondering if you could update everybody on the status of the 2010 financial statements and audit.
I just opened it up this morning. I believe it was delivered to our office on Friday. I could be wrong.
I believe I sent Representative Cardelli an email last week telling him exactly what happened. He's well aware of what's happened, unless he's just in here and wants to get it on the television. That's fine, but I sent you an email and told you exactly what happened, Representative Cardelli. In the situation.
I was simply asking for an update on the status. I wasn't looking for historical information as to...
You already have it.
All right, we've got it, we've received it, okay? Answers your question.
Yes, copies are available downstairs?
We received copies for the board. There wasn't copies made for the public, general public, but I'm sure you can look at one and review it. Yep.
Thank you.
You got one on your, oh, you picked it up?
Yeah,
already?
I get one on my desk.
Okay.
I have a point of order. Is that also available in electronic format, so it'll be on the website?
I don't know.
I suspect it will be at some point, Melissa, but I can't tell you right this minute. We just got those Friday morning when Mr. Julio drove them over here himself and dropped them off.
Okay.
Okay, any other public input? Okay, we got about 4 minutes. Let's report on the New Hampshire Association of Counties annual meeting. Anybody would like to start?
You're the high monkey muck in that organization, why don't you?
Well, it was held at the Mount Washington Grand up in Whitefield, New Hampshire. There were roughly 235 or so people in attendance from all the different counties throughout the state. County Commissioners were there. A lot of other affiliates. Registry of Deeds had a one-day session to update them on certain aspects of the registry. Sheriff's Department had something. Jail had a special educational program one day for the jail employees, and I believe we had, well, I remember seeing one, our interim superintendent was there who attended that particular session. We had a commissioners meeting on Tuesday morning to discuss the New Hampshire Association of Counties activities. We are in the present state of hiring a new executive director. I made the point that we shouldn't be looking for a lobbyist, that we should be looking for a public information type individual that would, not too many people know what the New Hampshire Association of Counties does. We need somebody to publicize, advertise, do whatever necessary in PR to explain what's going on. So they are going to have another meeting on the 14th of December. And I also suggested that, you know, they put out this proposal to get somebody to apply for the job. And we had people that applied for it for $130,000, $140,000 plus benefits. I said that was too much.
That was for lobbyists, Dave.
Well, that was for the executive director. I think it's going to change because a number of people spoke up and said we shouldn't be looking for a lobbyist. We should be looking for a coordinator, a PR person, and that we're not looking for somebody for 130, 140,000. We may be looking for somebody more in the range of 90,000, but less than 100. So that's still up in the air to be discussed further. There are certain programs that were presented, appropriate behavior in the workplace. The speaker talked about that. Collective bargaining workshop. There was a session on that. The last session that I attended, which was Tuesday just before lunch, and ended at lunch, was from a insurance company that talked about the Cadillac and how we need to change our insurance companies because of the Obama Care Act. And we in Carroll County need to reduce our plan, our insurance plan, because we have the Cadillac plan and it's not affordable by everyone. So we're looking into changing that particular plan. Go ahead.
Just for a second, just to fill in. The Cadillac plan is a 40%, the penalty is 40% of the cost of the program over and above $60,000. So we're talking about big money.
Yep. It could cost us a lot of dollars
If we don't. I thought that was important.
Yep. If we don't change our health plan, this county will be penalized greatly for that. So I'm working with the unions. I'm meeting with 3 unions today at 11 o'clock, starting at 11. And we will be, this goes into effect, I believe it's the 18th of 2018. I would like to see it go into effect immediately for this county, as soon as we can come up with a plan that's affordable to everybody. You want to report on what you attended, Commissioner?
I attended the New Hampshire Association of Counties annual meeting. There were awards given at night, and Al from the nursing home got a reward, but we already reported that. The Monday I attended a health session meeting, and I attended, I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday, I believe it was Monday too, and I attended appropriate behavior in the workplace. And I attended also the meeting of the New Hampshire Association, the Commissioners' Council meeting.
Mr. Babson?
Yes, I attended the session on Monday morning, which was for the commissioners. The one I found most fascinating was the gentleman Mark Growth that spoke to us on collective bargaining and developing a relationship with your employees. He went on for about 2.5, 3 hours. It's his profession. He was excellent. I also attended the commissioner's portion on whether we were going to hire a executive director, or whether we were going to split the position up, or whether we were going to go with a lobbyist. If there were 50 people in the meeting, I think there were probably 50 different opinions. What I got out of it is the amount of I don't know how you say it nicely, but the disagreement between delegations and commissioners. I thought Belknap led the pack, and maybe we were second, but come to find out that 2 or 3 other counties that are having trouble with their delegations and lack of understanding. One of the big concerns was the delegation not having a real handle of what's going on in the
Orientation.
orientation, well, also not what's going on a daily basis. We talked about how to improve that. Overall, I think it was a very, very beneficial gathering, and I hope we do it again next year.
By the way, we recognized an employee of Carroll County. We didn't. The New Hampshire Association of Counties recognized Al Pullen, who's a maintenance director, not director, maintenance person over at the nursing home, who has done an outstanding job in the type of work that he does. He's friendly. He doesn't say no to a request. He jumps in. He's a team player. He puts the residents first. And it was just a good recognition. He was caught off guard. It was a surprise to him. I don't believe he slept that night. This was Monday night at the banquet. He was just very appreciative of the recognition. There was a session on the difference between management and leadership, or being a manager and being a leader, which I thought was very worthwhile. Each of the affiliates, as I said earlier, the corrections had a meeting, Registry of Deeds, they had a meeting, nursing home also was involved. There was a session by our insurance company, Primex, given by Mike Ricker, which was the appropriate behavior in the workplace. They gave several examples of things not to do, or things that he was involved in defending. All in all, I think the annual meeting was very educational. And we had, I believe, 11 people. I reported that last week. I think it was 11 people from Carroll County that attended the event. Some were only for a day. They didn't have to pay the full registration fee. Some stayed overnight, depending on how far away they were. So, enough said about that. One thing, Ed, you brought up a week ago regarding dues to the association and what benefit do we get. I'll make a copy of this and share this with you later. But we have what we call a prescription drug savings program for residents of Carroll County. And this is savings through August 2014 for Carroll County. It was $511,777 that Carroll County residents have saved by us belonging to the National Association. And it lists all the counties here that have received that type of thing. And Stratford County, for example, received $121,000. Not received, but the benefit of belonging helped the residents of their county through this prescription drug program.
When they purchase.
What's that?
Savings program when they purchase the drugs.
Right. Okay, it's a savings, right. We also have in this county $4,142 that comes from, I believe it's the Forest Service. It's in lieu of taxes on national forest land, and the Board of Commissioners have, most of it's in the town of Albany, but it was voted on by the Board of Commissioners to give that to the school district in Kennett, what is the number 9, because most of that area is in that district. So that's $4,000. Other counties like Coos County, they received $367,000 that they can distribute to their schools. And I think there's other organizations that can receive it, but we always put it towards the school budget. Go ahead.
David, two questions. I don't remember this from last year because it was a new. When we take this pilot money, does it have to go to the school board?
No.
And if it doesn't have to go to the school board, what prevents us from saying to SAU 9 that we want this money to go to reduce the cost of education for Hales location students? Otherwise, you don't get it.
We tried that a few years ago.
What happened?
And they wouldn't reduce the Hales location budget, educational budget, by that amount. I think we should take exception to that now. And
why don't we give the money to somebody else?
We can give the money to somebody else, exactly. I don't know who else, but it is by law as to who you can designate to receive those dollars.
Can I have a point of
Ed, go ahead.
point of information? The reason why I brought up the dues that we pay is because they were going to hire a lobbyist, and they do take policy positions. They have a legislative steering committee. You, as representatives, you're supposed to represent us, but they have a separate committee that is not elected by us. I don't even know who they are. They create and urge Congress and give testimony in Congress for them to do things. And I didn't have any say in that. I mean, I have letters here of policies that I may not agree with. NACO, which is the National Association of Counties, urges Congress to address global warming and climate change. Why is a non-elected board that we're paying money to that hires lobbyists to go to Congress create legislation? That's not how this is supposed to work. We're supposed to tell you what we think, and you're supposed to vote for us. I don't know who these people are. That was the reason. I understand there's a medical benefit for the area residents, and that should be the focus. We shouldn't be spending, how much of that $10,000 is going to pay for, what did you say, $160,000 for a lobbyist?
Yeah.
Or 30.
I know they didn't approve that, but we still have
that won't take place.
I invite you to go to the websites of the New Hampshire Association of Counties and the National Association of Counties. They have a legislative steering committee, so they're lobbyists that go and lobby for us when you're supposed to do that for us. Thank you.
I think the major purpose of the New Hampshire Association of Counties was to look out for bills that are presented in Concord that affect county government or county facilities, whether it's a nursing home, sheriff's department, jail, whatever, just to make sure that the elected officials know what effect it has on the taxpayers' dollars.
And in that case, it can also promote itself. And that's what was my concern. It can create or help to create legislation to perpetuate itself, and that's not, again, how our system is supposed to work.
Go ahead.
Ed, I hope you get elected and you go down to Concord and you can spend 2 years without listening to a lobbyist. You're going to find that it isn't the same situation as in Washington. These are people that, once you know, they have an agenda, but they're the wealth of information. I think Representative Cordelli will probably agree with this, that if you need information about a certain industry, about a certain program, they're the people to go to. They're not all bad. We have 10 counties here, and we're supposed to be looking out for the interest of the people in this county. Well, it isn't like the guy in Washington goes up to the federal building and starts taking a position. This is all worked up through the counties to Washington, and I think, frankly, at least in New Hampshire, with 22 or 23 House committees, and most people not knowing everything there is to know about everything that goes on in those committees, that we need a lobbyist. We need someone to come to us and say, hey, do you know this bill is out before us, and this is an unintended consequence that may come out of it. I think it's money well spent. I'm not sure about Washington, but sure in the devil it is in Congress.
Tax money should not be used to hire lobbyists. That's how the system gets subverted. If they were free and they were citizens that came to you with information, then you made the decision from that, that would be fine. But the fact that you have taxpayers that go to work every day, and they're getting their money taken from them, and then that's being used to hire people to subvert the decision-making of an elected official. That cannot be allowed. I don't even think it is allowed. Information is fine.
I guess we have to agree to disagree because A, I don't believe it's subverting the system here in New Hampshire. I think it's improving it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Jason? Yeah, go ahead. A fun activity. Thank you for bringing this report in.
Okay. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'll get to that in a minute, I guess. I'll go over the report. Report for Wednesday, October 29th. We have 3 people on electronic monitoring, 1 work release, 4 transfers. Most of those are in Hampshire State Hospital, people that need some severe help. I want to get some stats out there. I just did it from beginning of September till now, so people have a better understanding of what's going on at the jail. On average, from the beginning of the year to now, we average about 61.5 offenders a long term, with the lowest being 40 offenders and the highest being at 76. Currently, right now, 91.54% of our offenders are pretrial inmates, so not guilty. So it's very much a pretrial facility, and which is a lot for counties, is pretrial. 8.46% is actually our sentenced offenders. From 9/1 till now, we processed in 152 offenders, and we released 162 offenders. So it's peaks and valleys and spikes. We get a lot in and out. It's a lot of movement.
Excuse me, Mr. Henry, is that from September, the 162, or is that from the beginning of the year?
From September 1st.
From September 1st?
Yeah, at the end of the year, when I submit a report, I will give you the entire year. It's significant how many people we take in and how many people we book out. Moving further down, currently we've used 973 hours of our Relias online learning, help reduce costs of on-site training, and give our staff enhanced training that they may have not had the opportunity to take before, but since we can offer it in-house, it has been very helpful, especially with new hires coming on, where we don't have to try to find a PREA person, a coordinator, or some other teachers. We have it online, approved courses through the ACA and AJA. So it has been a huge help. As the commissioners were talking about, Association County Conference was the past couple of days. Educational workshops were very valuable, and I'd like to thank the county for allowing me to go. And with that being said, it's our bedazzled cup that's over here. The New Hampshire Association of Counties, Hillsborough County, sponsored the event. And the evening of Saturday evening, after all the classes were over with, Monday evening, after
the banquet.
Oh yeah, after the banquet, like 9 o'clock at night. Anyways, they hosted an event for all the counties to participate in. It ranged from a washer toss to a cornhole game to a rope ladder game. Anyways, brackets, single elimination, and it was for camaraderie, getting to know the other counties and those kinds of things. And myself and the HR director, Winnet Group, were teammates, and I'd say we won the cup out of all the counties. We get to retain it for the year, then it's brought back. This is the first one they've ever done, so it gets brought back, and again, spirit of camaraderie. Merrimack County's hosting the next one. I'm sure let's have some sort of events to win this beautiful, bedazzled county.
Go ahead, Winnet.
Hey, there's my partner right over there.
Did it come with a linen bag to put over it?
What's that?
Did it come with a linen bag to put over
it? So, and there was a lot of support from all of the county that was there, cheering on and having a good time. It was a lot about camaraderie within the county and amongst the counties. So it was a good time.
It was a fun time that, as Jason has said, I think it brought a lot of people together, and a lot of the counties participated. I'm not sure how many, but I know Carroll County had 3 teams there. Howie was my teammate. Downstairs office, there were 2 there. We went to the final, went to the last event, but didn't succeed.
We only got beat by the team that challenged, when Jason.
Right.
And the team that challenged us was the Commissioners from Hillsborough County. They had it stacked, so it was David versus Goliath, and, we came up victors.
It wasn't the purpose of the whole educational program, but it was an extra added event that started, was it 9 o'clock at night, I guess,
Yeah,
or
and
something
then
like that?
almost ended at 11:38. 11:38 outside. It was a little chilly.
It was all outside. Yeah.
It's great team building, though.
It was good.
Great team building.
It was good.
Okay.
All right, moving on. I had a tour last week from the U.S. Marshals. We passed our inspection to hold federal offenders. I will be receiving more paperwork, continuing the process, taking offenders. I do not have a time frame when they will have the rest of the paperwork or when we'll be getting any, but the next step in the process we have passed, and we're moving one step closer. We currently have 2 staff members attending the Association of Counties Academy, and they will be graduating next Friday, November 7th, 12 o'clock at Police Standards and Training.
Now, where's that going to be held?
Police Standards and Training.
At Police Stand in Concord?
Yep.
Okay.
I know on the agenda it says Robin Gordon was going to be here and talk with me. Robin could not make it, so I will briefly go talk about what she wanted to talk about. She wanted to talk about the value of the county looking to a case manager shared between the jail and her office to help offenders integrate back in the community. The case manager would go with one of their people from their office, visit homes, go with the offenders, and from our office check on offenders of their transition into the workforce, resumes, making those contacts in the community, actually following them along and tracking them. A lot of counties have a case manager, especially a case manager when they leave. We do a pretty good job when they're inside. It's a little more difficult once they're outside, helping them get the resources and those kinds of things. So she wanted to talk about looking into establishing some sort of program.
Okay, go ahead.
Jason, in your opinion, instead of tearing down these next 2 wings, why wouldn't that be a good opportunity for transition housing? Somebody comes in, you got 30 days to go get a job, and then you're out of here.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, yes, I think it'd be a great idea to have that as an opportunity. I think if you would check with Superintendent White of Merrimack, he would say when they let the old facility run down, they had wished that had, I mean, they're back now looking at it, of trying to revamp it, but once either A, torn down or not used, it costs a lot of money to bring back together. So for me, yes, it would be a great opportunity to have transitional housing to move back, and then a case manager to follow them, helping them to get their jobs, helping them to get back on their feet. Because again, if you don't get them out of the element that they were into to begin with, they're going to go back to where they were and probably come back. So they don't have a lot of options besides to go where they were. Yeah, makes sense.
Do you have any idea how many people, how many offenders that leave the jail that have no place to go or no job to go or knowing where the next meal is going to be? Any idea on the numbers of people?
No. I know I would...
They're not that many, but there are some.
But there are some meals, jobs. Jobs are hard one, depending how long they're in with us, because then you end up losing a job for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Places to go to, back to, a lot of them have some place to go to, but again, it was the element they were already in.
It's the environment.
Trying to get them back out of that is the harder part, because A, it's what they're used to. B, we don't necessarily have the resources to retrain them, including when they're off whatever alcohol or drugs might be on. You have to retrain the brain to think without that kind of stuff in you. So when you get back out, it's one of the reasons why sometimes they go back to it, because your brain's used to that. And again, going back to the exact same element, and it's got all those factors. If you don't have a good support unit, good family unit, it's very, very difficult. So a transitional housing where the support unit was us and the county and a case manager and everybody working together to move them along is a much better support system, and I think a higher opportunity to diminish, bring down recidivism, at least give them a fighting chance to change.
At one of the educational conference sessions of the last couple of days, somebody mentioned having families coming in. We're doing that, right?
Families come in?
Families come in, the offenders' children.
Yeah, for Thinking for a Change class, which is a very intense class. It's a lot of work. It's many, many weeks. If they pass that and do very well on the rewards, is we try to bring the families in, which the commissioner has attended. We bring the families in so they have an opportunity that is a huge motivator for them to finish that class, to have their family come in and sit down with them and congratulate them from graduating.
Okay, good.
But that's not what we heard, Jason. We heard, and I agree with Dave, we heard that one of the institutions was having, I believe I heard, a weekly visit from families in a controlled environment, not just one day after they've completed a 12-week session. I mean, completely different than what you just spoke of.
Yeah.
Well, there used to be contact visits over there, and most jails did. Most jails do not have contact visits at all because
I shouldn't say contact visit, but visits from the family.
This for family have regularly. They front lobby they're in daily. Families come in daily to have visits. We also have.
Excuse me, I did not mean contact.
Okay. Yeah, we have the family visits.
Context of the term.
We have visits all the time. We also have a few other new things. The read a book program. The offender's allowed to read a book, and we'll send it either a WAV file or CD out to the family so they can stay in contact with their children. We now have the ability, at no charge to the county, for family members to do an email system. They can send an email, even pictures that will come through a printer that we have, so we know there's nothing wrong with it. We'll quickly look at it, make sure there's nothing vulgar or anything along those lines. That can goes to the offender. So another way for the family to, a different method for them to make contact with their families.
Okay.
So we're have quite a few different things that we do.
Isn't that a good way to initially build a support system? I mean, both the young men that have gotten out of here and, knock on wood, seem to have succeeded to speak about having a support system where they'd be back in the camp.
Correct.
And isn't that the best way to go?
Best way, I mean, it's hard. It's convincing the families that there's a support system, but if their families is part of the problem, then what is the next support system? It's the community. As we talked about in some of the Rotary clubs and the Lions Club I'm going to at the end of the month and the next month, is the community being that support system. Just because these are a lot of people from broken homes or maybe have problems in their homes, not just amongst the nucleus of the family, their wife, whatever, but even with their parents. So it's the community's pulling together saying, okay, how can we help you transition? Is there a job that we could start you with? Something small. And that gives them a sense of pride and identity, and maybe they'll grasp onto that. Is there low-income housing in your community that they can move into? Is there somebody just to even come say hello? Most people just are shunned for a lot of different reasons. Like I said, if I just gave you stats of 91.5% are not sentenced. A huge majority of them are coming in and going back out to the communities. Most of the county facilities are going back out. So rallying around them to have them for greater success is very important.
Go ahead.
No, I just.
Oh.
Do you have any idea, Jason, how figures of pretrial average 2 or 3 years ago was 135, and it jumped to about 250. Do you have any idea what the average amount of days that held pretrial?
No, but
fortunately they're not all in our facility because they get bailed. But
no, but I can run
still
that.
Up around there, 250.
I think so, but I can actually run that through our system and get back to you exactly how many pre-trial hours that they're held for.
And that depends on what they're in for. Depends on the judge, depends on the attorney, defense attorney.
Depends on, yeah, it depends. You can have people sit on pretrial for a very long duration of time because if they have a very high charge, and it could take a long time to go to jury, it could take a long time to get through the court system.
Yeah.
And then some are, yeah, they're lesser charges and it's quick and they make a deal, they can be out. Or if they have lower bail, they can be out. So
Who starts that system or that process where somebody might be in for a minor scrape? Does the county attorney, or do you suggest to the county attorney that, hey, this individual really didn't do anything really bad? Can we move that person, she or he, through the system a lot quicker? Who initiates that?
Well, it depends. Usually when they come in, it's on if they come in on either bail, usually on bail,
Yeah.
then they usually get a video arraignment or arraignment, depending on the judge. And from there, if it's low, and they take a look at the criminal history and everything that's going on, a lot of times right there. So I say our numbers go up and down. On Monday, I could have 10 extra people. Monday afternoon, I could lose those 10 extra people. Because usually at the arraignment, those kind of quick ones are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
If they're there longer, then usually it's from their own attorney working with the county attorney to move them along quicker through the system. They're not going to keep those low criminal behaviors or behaviors in the jail for very long. They're going to move them along because the attorneys want them out too because they have other cases to worry about.
Is there any holdup regarding the judicial system? I mean, the judge, they have a full docket, they can't see people, or?
Well, just as we're talking about, they have full dockets on things. Yes, I mean your misdemeanors and your felonies, they definitely have full docket, and they take a while to pull evidence. But as for the minor ones, they're in and out. Thus, the numbers, they're moved out quickly and back in quickly. Unfortunately,
My feeling on that last item that you brought up regarding a case manager, I personally feel we're going to have additional difficulties with our budget this year. As I see it, I would tend to support increases in wages versus hiring on new people, just because I think there's certain categories in certain departments that need to be raised to a higher level. Yours being one because such a high turnover rate. I don't remember now how much of a turnover, but it's a huge turnover in officers.
correct.
Correct? So we need to address that. I think in a nursing home, there's another department there that needs to be addressed. So I think wages and getting back, the jail didn't have any increases this past year because they were not organized or didn't have a union that represented them. So they're falling behind. But in a nursing home, there's another group there that needs improvement. There's a turnover there. They're not getting the wages that they should be getting. I'm not saying that's true for all of the people in a nursing home, but there is a group there that needs to be changed. And I think we need to make a decision, probably the board needs to make a decision as to the direction that we go, whether we're hiring new people or whether we are trying to give those people that are working for us now a better income so that they stay here versus going down the road for another 25 cents an hour or 50 cents an hour. I just see that as sort of a priority from where I'm coming from, but I'm not sure where my cohorts are coming from.
I would agree with you. This is more of a long-term thinking.
Okay.
I would say this is a long-term planning. Once we get, for me, until things become stabilized at least the jail with staffing, I'm not looking for more staffing. I'm looking for becoming stable and then taking a hard look of what it can and can't do. But now with such high turnover rate, all the staff is doing is retraining new staff.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to move forward to figure out where we
And it costs us money to retrain people.
over and over again. Yes.
So,
Is there really any question of priority? Are we still paying the same starting wage that we paid, what, 4 years ago?
well, that's what I'm asking for. I'm looking for some support.
we need to get the support of the delegation to help on their end to help correct the turnover problem that we've got. And it's not all their fault, not all our fault, not all Jason's fault. It's not a fun job. You gotta have you have to be a special person to do it.
Yep, yep.
It's a hard job. I have a question, Jason. Who's your assistant again? Who's helping you?
That would be Captain Batchelder.
Oh, okay.
Okay, any further questions with jail? Our interim director? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I put in one more pitch before he leaves?
Sure.
Electronic monitoring, Jason.
Got three.
When you get to the subcommittee, perhaps you could mention that these young people go out, we charge them, we pay for the bracelet, we charge them for the bracelet, we charge them a lot more for the bracelet that they were paying, and then they get ready to leave here, and they don't have a penny in their pocket. Why aren't we, David's heard from me for 8 years, 10 years, why don't we put some of this money in escrow for these characters when they get out, so when they can at least buy their first meal?
It's something the commissioners can look at. The money that's taken in, you usually offset the cost because we have to do all the urinalysis, the home checks. It's gas for the cruisers. It is the paying for the salary or the money for the officers to go do this. It is, we're not charging them a ton of money, and it depends on what you want to do. All that other stuff costs money, and then the electronic monitoring fee comes back to the county. So again, if you feel that the county doesn't need to have the money come back to them and you'd rather put it someplace else, that would be on the board's decision. I can just tell you on our end, there is cost to doing that. It is less cost than them being inside, but there's still cost for us for doing that.
Well, I believe we're paying a little less than $80 a week for the bracelet, isn't it? Or
charging they get charged $70 a week, yes.
They're getting charged they were getting charged $125 a week.
70, they get charged 70.
That's been corrected?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's pretty standard, but again, the board could make the decision to not take the money back from the county. That would be.
How do you go about charging them?
They usually once a week bring in check or cash for the monitor.
You said usually. Key word is usually. What happens in the unusual situation?
We try to go back after them if they go too long and not able to pay. Part of being able to go out is being able to pay, because being able to pay means you have a job and you have a way to fund yourself and you have a place to live. So once some of those dynamics are not there anymore, like you lose your place to live or you can't
provide
pay.
them a place to live. Once they don't have one on the outside, they come back in, right?
Correct.
Okay, very good. You're on for your budget next week?
Sure. Negotiations this afternoon. Budget next week.
Why not?
Okay.
We got to get through it.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Okay, Howie. You got something, Sheriff, quickly you want to bring up, or?
We were doing the bids.
David, before he gets out the door, why did we get his readout today?
That's his budget.
I know, but why
What is-
today? Did he plan to do it?
No.
Commissioner, could I have a short moment, please?
What's that?
Could I have a minute?
Make it quick, because
Yeah,
we're
well,
going to be
absolutely.
running behind. Go
Yeah, it's
ahead.
important, though. The financial report, the audit,
Yep.
when's that going to be made available to the business office downstairs?
It's, the commissioners have copies. I don't know how many other copies there
Well, I guess
are.
they're really waiting for that. And
What's that?
also, they're waiting for the copy of that report.
Yeah.
And also, when is it going to be posted on the website for the county?
I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, and I don't know if anybody else on the board. We just got it.
I just got it on my desk.
Yeah.
But you just waived it this morning here, and if you just waive it this morning in a public meeting,
Yeah.
it becomes part of the public record. So if they
Well, I-
ask now for it,
Then go down and have
should
it put
be-
on the list.
it
That's
should
not
be
the-
available.
That's not the question. I said, we just received it, and I just said, I haven't had a chance. Have you had a chance to read it?
No, I just saw it this morning on my desk.
Okay,
And
me too.
I got it. But you've been,
Yeah, I have.
yeah, But if you hold things here up in a public meeting, it becomes part of public.
So are we supposed to keep
record.
this a secret and not show it, that we received it?
No,
The question came
you
from an
have to,
individual,
but yes.
what the status was.
And you answer that and you waive it here, so if they ask for it, you should give them immediately. So it's not a secret.
As soon as I have a chance to read
It's
it,
part of the
I
public
will
record.
make sure it gets on the website.
Okay,
I'd like to see it first before it goes. Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Sheriff?
We're doing the sealed bids.
Cruises.
I don't have any bids.
You do
How many bids did you get?
Oh, you have those
seven.
bids.
How many?
We believe 7.
Oh my gosh.
So today is the opening? Is-
Howie, you got somebody introduced, plus you want to talk about job descriptions, right?
We can be brief.
You can? All right, come on up.
Is with your permission, along with noting publicly that Al Pullen received the New Hampshire Association of Counties New Hampshire Nursing Home Employee of the Year Award, if the three of you would be willing, I'd like to get another opportunity for a photograph. So Al, if you would
Okay,
come
Al.
forward, please.
You got another $10 bill, so I'll vote again for you, Al, or what? Over here, Al. You gotta get.
All right.
Oh, you got the award with you too.
I did. Okay, he's got, it was quite the presentation the other night. Now, everybody
Quite a
look
surprise.
this way and smile. We're going to do that again. Smile. Commissioner Babson, you have to smile. There we go.
Thank you, thank you. And thank you so much for the award. It
You're
was,
welcome.
it was very
Congratulations.
flattering, you
Pleasure
know.
to have you work here.
And when I tell you, it's honest. And you can see this is not a phony situation. I'm just so pleased that I was recognized.
Well, you deserved it.
Thank
That's
you.
why you were
Well,
recognized.
congratulations.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm going to run back then.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming over. The other thing we have for you, last week you asked for copies of both the proposed assistant director of nursing job description and the present director of nursing job description. Actually, you can pass that all the way down to Melissa.
Yeah.
Have one for the record. Commissioner Babson.
Commissioner Sorensen.
Thank you.
Yes.
I think the question, or at least the concern that might be reading between the lines is...
Before you start, Al, on your
Yeah.
way out, could you ask HR Director to come in?
Very good.
Thank you.
Why don't we wait till she gets here?
Who was involved in putting this Assistant Director's nursing job description together? Who was involved?
It began with HR.
Yeah,
And with the much appreciated assistance of Lynette, and I assume Debbie, different job descriptions from other counties were presented.
okay.
Then they went to Lori, who incorporated that along with our old one into a new one, invited comment from both HR and myself for upgrading, and now we're seeing its present edition, iteration, as a composite of all that.
So I have a question. The position was already there, right? There was a position, Assistant Director of Nursing.
Years
Not
ago.
as such.
Okay.
Years ago, then it was modified into a clinical coordinator's position, and now we're looking to return, and that position had been held, and it's been vacant for about a year and a half, and now we're looking to use the funds that were appropriated for that to go back to the original assistant director's position.
But if things were running well without this position, is it really necessary that we have to fill this position again?
Good question. And things have been running well, but not nearly as well as they should. And quite frankly, our last survey is probably the best example of that. There are things we need to and should be doing better than what we have. It's also fairly standard in virtually every other county home and in almost every other nursing home. In order to be able to do both we need to do the clinical, but also the support. Our position is fairly unique in the way that we have it described. It's also the backup position to the MDS coordinator. So that we always have at least two people that can do a given position. Becky, to her credit, was willing to double up on an awful lot of her job responsibilities which meant a lot of things were covered, but now we're looking to try to give some things the attention that they really need in order for us to go forward.
So if there was already, this position was already there should be a job description already. So maybe you should just only update it or modify it.
That was the part. We took the old job description that we had, but also with HR's help, looked at what current job descriptions were in other counties, and to come up with something that Lori put together that I think represents a great composite of all of that.
Okay.
We asked you to come in too because we want to make sure that you were involved in the job description. And Howie said you initially got job descriptions from other counties for the Assistant Director of Nursing. Have you seen the final?
I just got it today, so I was able to look at it.
Okay.
With the additions.
Were there any major changes to the original?
There was more, Lori was the one that filled in many of the blanks from the prior job description and brought in some other components that are very valuable for Mountain View and what she felt was very important, and then Howie added some, so
okay,
I was able to review it.
You want to go over those?
I think the only significant changes that I added, and not all were incorporated. I gave them to Lori to look at. Lori had a different take, and appropriately so, on where care planning should be, and that it didn't need to be the primary responsibility of the assistant director. But I think mine were more editorial than it was. Was there anything substantive? I'm trying to think. I think it was just to cover some things that I had looked at. But it's not significantly different in any way.
Okay, just a quick question on the DON's job description. We talked about being bonded this morning, and I noticed you have no criminal record and must be bondable. Is she bondable? Does she have carry a bond? Do we have anybody over at the nursing home? Are there anybody over there bonded?
Paula and Norma are, I believe, but I'm not sure. And should be.
We need to check on it, I guess.
But I will check on that.
But does a DON need to be bonded?
Probably not.
You don't take in any money, or, I mean, you work on the budget, but that's a paper deal, right?
Yeah, right, I would collaborate with Paul and Norma.
Yeah.
And Howard on the budget. Yeah, I would not be taking in any money.
Okay. Okay, you want to talk about Assistant Director? Did you say that this had anything to do with the MDS coordinator?
Would be the assistant director would be the backup MDS coordinator.
Okay.
So that when Lisa Thomas was away on vacation, unavailable, away on sick leave, we'd be able to process things normally and typically. That's not a typical part of all assistant. Many nursing homes have multiple MDS coordinators, so they have built-in backup, but we're small enough that we don't have that and don't want to incur the expense of doing that.
One of the items in here, essential job functions, participates in or initiates disciplinary action. I hope whenever there's any disciplinary action taken over at the nursing home that the HR director gets informed prior to disciplinary action. I think in my feeling is that we need to have somebody that is going to be looking at consistency, and I feel that the HR director is the one that would fill that role. I don't know what the rest of the board members, how they feel about it, but I think
I disagree with that because the nursing home is run by the nursing home administrator and the director of nurses. And they have a job to do, HR has a job to do. If they feel that is right, that is what they need to do for discipline, they should do that. And I don't think that HR should come interfere and said, no, this is how I want it. We hired him as the nursing home administrator. If there are employees there, disciplinary actions needs to be done by them. Shouldn't be done by HR. And I think he can, maybe if he takes certain actions, that he can report it then to HR. But it shouldn't be the other way. It is the same, I mean.
Can I make a comment? Employee files are held in the Human Resource Office over here, so we don't have access to those. So in tracking for discipline, maybe we do a verbal and then a written and then wherever we need to go. We would not have that in the building, so we would have to communicate with Human Resources to have that to appropriately follow the discipline procedures here.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
Well, I disagree with Commissioner Kenney. I believe HR should be involved. I'm concerned why the Assistant Director of Nursing, it appears, is the one in charge of participating and initiating disciplinary action, and not the Director of Nursing or the Director of the nursing home.
Well,
am I missing something here in the reading? The other thing is, I just got this thing, so I'm not voting on anything today. Or you can vote without me, one of the two.
thank you. I think the DON has got to be a player in disciplinary action taken as well.
Well, it says here it's going to be the Assistant Director. This is about the Assistant Director.
I know it is. I know it is.
I don't see anything where it says the Director of Nursing or the nursing home administrator is involved in the disciplinary action.
Well, if you read page 1, it said participates in and or initiates disciplinary action.
That's exactly what I just said.
That's what he said.
I don't think that's right. I think it ought to be the job of the DON or the nursing home administrator, not the...
And it is.
You have to look where she reports. She reports to the DN, right? So if she participates or something, I think she will report it first to the DON.
What's intended here, and it might or might not be written well, it doesn't keep the responsibility for discipline is always the supervisor of the department. That would be the director of nursing. What this does is reinforce in the assistant director's role that the assistant director, he or she also has authority, doesn't have control, participates in and can initiate. So it means this is a person that has authority. This becomes, let's call it a sergeant level position, can initiate discipline without having to get prior approval. The responsibility, though, will always be the department supervisor, the director of nursing, with my review, but I would also agree that in most cases would need to and should involve the collaboration of HR as well. But it's not putting this person, it's not delegating to the assistant director. This isn't the vice principal role, where all discipline is handled by the assistant director. But it is giving the assistant director the authority to be able to self-initiate action and participate in that.
Which is no different than any other supervisor.
Exactly. Well, this is giving some supervisory responsibility to the assistant director, because it's deserved in a large department like that. But it's not giving control or responsibility for. That remains with the director of nursing.
Yeah.
Well, then I would agree with you, Hal. It's poorly written. It certainly doesn't indicate that anybody else is involved in it, or that the individuals are backup, or that or when her responsibilities or his responsibilities. We just went to the class on being politically correct, so it could be his or hers position of that states where that person fits into the disciplinary process. I think that line needs to be worked on.
Are you speaking to the line on the assistant director?
Pardon me?
Are you speaking to what's
Yes,
written
Laurie,
on the
where it
assistant?
says
Okay.
participates in or initiates disciplinary action. It doesn't mention HR, it doesn't mention your job or the administrator or where this person actually gets involved in if it were to say in the case that the administrator or the DON is not available, the assistant participates in or initiates, something like that. It sounds to me like the person is the one doing the disciplinary action here, the way it's written.
So if we had a policy and procedure written that outlined all of that,
Well, that's what I was
not-
gonna-
I mean, that's where that would be in policy and procedure, would outline who would be responsible in absence of who.
Right, which.
Do we have that?
Piggybacking off of what she just said, participates in and/or initiates disciplinary action. And because, as has been stated, because she does report, this ADON reports to the DON or to the facility administrator, this person could at times, if the director of nursing was on vacation for 2 weeks and she needed to initiate a disciplinary action that was something that was severe that she needed to do, she sent someone home for a disciplinary action and then had all the documentation, met with the facility administrator the next day, and then it was continued out further. Those are the types of situations that this ADON may have to do. So I don't agree that it is poorly written. I agree that it is someone who and you could add to it, but somebody who may need to initiate disciplinary action at times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need to say in here, in absence of, because if this person is supervising and she is responsible for a day, she may have to take that action.
Well, I like what you said better to begin with, just 2 seconds ago.
May need to participate in.
Pardon me?
May need to participate
May need
in,
to participate
rather
in,
than just
so, yeah.
participates. So that's what I heard.
Participates in or when necessary.
When necessary.
Yes, when necessary.
I think that's what you said.
Davey, can we go back up here? We jumped all the way down here. I had a couple more questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Acts as a liaison with contracted rehabilitation providers. Is that again after, if there is no director of nursing available?
That's Genesis. That's our rehab part.
I understand that.
So the assistant director would be the day-to-day contact for the program manager of Genesis.
Okay.
Genesis' primary contact rather than, now, the assistant director, if there were issues of consequence, would immediately refer to the director of nursing, but a lot of times it's day-to-day clinical type of questions. Who should be in restorative, who should be getting this or that. It's to give Genesis one point of contact within the organization.
Okay. So we go assesses and mediates. So the sole responsibility of solving a problem is going to be the assistant director of nursing? Or is she going to get the news and then go running to the director of nursing and say, here's the problem?
Again, I think it says as needed at the end of that sentence, so there are times that she would need to assess and mediate problems through the coordination of meetings and other interventions, so there are times that she would be the one handling that assessing and mediating. There are going to be times that she would need to do that. Most of the rest of the situations, she most likely will go through the DON and or the facility administrator.
Remember, part of a job description is to be honest and clear with the person we're hiring. We don't want some person later to say, it's not my job. Someone has a problem, it's the director of nurse's job if they have a problem that needs. No, we want to be sure that the assistant director also knows that he or she is responsible for helping to solve the problem, not just report it to the director of nursing. So it both empowers them, but it also holds them accountable if in the future they think it's not part of their job.
Responsible for the implementation and maintenance of innovative, cost-effective, and high-quality resident care. This individual is only one person that's responsible, not
that there's an awful lot of job functions. When you look at the next page, you don't find anybody that was going to take this position on?
Well, I'd just like to know what a pay is.
Well, that's yet to be decided. I guess we're just talking about job descriptions right now.
Then I'd like to know what a previous pay was from the assistant director.
On the second page, acts as liaison between residents, families, and facility. What's the difference between what this person does and what the social worker does?
good question.
The real reason social worker will be handling with typically the social non-medical issues, but if there's a clinical issue, someone needs to be speaking with either the physician or a nurse. So it won't be instead of, but it'll be in collaboration with social services.
Should we put a couple of words after that, saying it pertaining to medical purposes or something?
That's, I mean, we could work the word clinical in there somewhere, I'm
Okay.
sure. I mean,
Okay.
that's it is certainly not in any way to take the place of, it doesn't change in any way the responsibilities of social services. But oftentimes when there is a medical, our nursing staff is sometimes the bridge between the physician and the resident's family.
Okay, performs prompt nursing assessments. Is this assessments of residents, such as what we ran into before, what the duties of an RN is? An RN is to perform assessments, right, of the patient.
Correct.
Now, is this person going to be doing it also, or in lieu of, or when an assessment has not been done, going to be responsible for doing it?
Well, that section that we have written there is specific to during medical emergencies.
Okay.
If there's a medical emergency you want to be sure that somebody is prepared to do it. Now here again, it's partly a defensive mechanism, partly to say what somebody's going to do, but also so that somebody in a later time can never say, that's not my job, that's the director of nursing's job. We want to be sure that this person is ready, able, and prepared to do those kind of assessments in a medical emergency.
Staff Development Director. Who's that currently?
That's Patty.
That's Patty?
This
Okay.
isn't to be the staff development director.
Advises the Staff Director, Development Director.
Needs of the staff.
Staff Director doesn't report to her, but,
No.
okay.
But this is a situation, if the assistant director or nurse had found that, for whatever reason, staff needed help with a particular type of nursing function, could go to Patty and say, well, we have one or more staff member that need training in this or that, and to work with Patty to help be sure that kind of training is made possible.
All right, again, evaluates potential new residents. This is working cooperatively with the social worker?
Exactly. That's actually being done now. The social worker cannot do the nursing assessment.
Yeah.
So that's actually done separately.
And right now it's done by who?
Done by the director of nursing.
Okay. And what does it mean, takes call on a rotating basis?
It means this is somebody who is willing to take a supervisor or a charge nurse position if needed.
Well, is call the correct word? I thought they
Yeah.
were talking about telephone calls.
Yeah.
That's what it refers to. So on weekend, if I was on vacation and there was a weekend that the supervisor needed assistance and I was not available.
I think we need to define that a little better.
Make
or
it
clarify
phone
it.
calls.
Well, it takes a phone call, but what's that mean?
Answer it.
For position vacancies, or it takes a phone call on a rotating basis? I don't know if that means anything to me.
Well, to nursing it does. I mean, on call, I'm on call 24/7. So on off shifts when I leave the building, I would take any calls from nursing. So if I was not available, if I was up in Whitefield at a conference, and this assistant director was the person covering, when they were not in the building, the nurses, there would be a procedure that the nurses would call.
Okay.
And it's referenced as on-call in the nursing language.
Okay, you want to take action on this later?
Yes.
Do you want to ask any other questions? Do you have any other questions, Commissioner Kenney?
I have a couple of questions.
Did you say you had any, or you
No,
gonna
I
wait?
have to read it again.
The question we have for you is whether or not, even though we have some more refinement to do on this, last week you said it was your intention that we should advertise outside for the position. Whether or not, if that's still the case, whether this shows that we're close enough to be able to initiate that advertising while concurrently we keep refining this so that we can, I mean, once we go to the newspaper, we're almost 3 to 4 weeks out with being able to interview and hire. So being able to do that as soon as possible is desirable.
All right, first of all, we got to approve it. So that can't be done until next week. You heard the question. You're the one that brought it up. It needs to be advertised outside of the nursing home,
The job.
publicly, the job.
We do have wonderful internal candidates who more than meet the requirements and who we believe would be interested in applying. So that offers promotional opportunity. But here again, that the decision is the board's, of course.
Well, nothing prevents you from promoting that individual if it's the best candidate of the 5 or 6 that you...
I guess he's talking about timing. You advertise it, and then you got interviews. You still got interviews, but they can be done internally a lot quicker.
Do we actually have a policy that says we must go out to advertise?
We do have a policy that says that?
I'm
So
asking.
do we?
Do we actually have that? I have not seen that.
I don't believe we do.
And I don't believe that that is a mandatory by law statement. I think that if you are able to advertise within, if you have internal candidates, that you are absolutely able to hire from within, reducing the cost of advertising if you know that you have a very, very qualified, exceptional candidate for a position. So it's the favor of the board if you want to go out and have that expense, but it is not, there's no law that says you have to go out and advertise for a position.
With union contracts, Sheriff, correct me if I'm wrong, with the union, and I know this person is not a union,
This
right?
position will not be.
In the union contract, doesn't it say you can hire within?
Yes, that is covered by contract that it has to be posted in-house first for any job openings.
Okay.
And we would post this in-house.
Why
Even though we're
doesn't-
not required to, we would post it, just to be sure that we didn't overlook anybody who might be interested.
I think that's a fair compromise for my feelings. We advertise it within for 5 or 6 days, and if we don't get a good candidate, then we go outside.
I would also add to that there ought to be a minimum of 2 candidates.
Yes.
Otherwise, we
Yeah.
go outside.
Yep.
So that we have some way of comparing as to who might be the best qualified.
Yep, I agree
Within?
with that, David, that's good.
I just want to add something. We not just mentioned there's no law that required that we have to publicize outside. I'm not sure because these are public employees. I think that this may be required that we have to publicize it. You said it's not required. I think it is different by public employees, that you have to advertise it. But we'll look it up.
All right, we gotta move on here.
Well, I'm gonna make, one of my gut feelings here, and we reached a point in our society where we have to put in requirements for the assistant director of nursing, follow standards for nursing practices.
I think so.
All of these things, that we're gonna go to court and say, well, you didn't, it doesn't say in your job description that you have to do the job.
Well,
It's ridiculous.
remember the situation that we're in within the past month.
Yes.
You have to refer to something, and I think that is something that covers us.
Well, in
they
that
have
case,
to-
isn't the fact that it's the individual's a registered nurse, doesn't that cover it? Doesn't the fact that you're a registered nurse mean that you'll follow the standards of nursing practice?
This is just,
Anyway, that's not enough to throw
Back
out,
up.
it's just ridiculous. I don't understand why we have to have all this, today's society, all of these obvious things.
all right, let's move on
Let's
here.
wait till next week.
We'll wait till next week to approve this.
Okay.
Secondly, I think we ought to be able to advertise within house.
Yep.
And have at least 2 candidates apply for it. If we don't, then we advertise outside.
The only position contrary to that I put before you is that, what if there's only one good candidate and that's somebody we want to promote?
Say that again?
What if we have one good candidate and that's somebody we want to promote, provide kind of a career ladder to?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that we can't advertise outside, but it also means that we can't just promote somebody.
There's an easy answer to that, Howard. That may be the case this time, but it may not be the case next time, and we don't want to have the appearance that we're playing favorites here. I agree with David, we have 2. If this person's as good a candidate as you say the person is, then they'll be the one that gets chosen.
Okay.
Could I ask a procedural question?
Yeah.
There are 3 positions. You've stated before there are 3 positions that are required by law: the nursing home administrator, the director of nursing, and the jail superintendent. This changes the scope of the clinical coordinator and turns it into an assistant director of nursing. So my question is why, it seems to me that the commissioners should be voting on adding a new position or changing the scope of a
We're
leadership
changing the
position,
position, yeah.
funding that position.
Mm-hmm.
But any of the procedures or processes involved in filling that position would be strictly between the nursing home administrator and HR. I don't understand why the commissioners are getting involved.
We approve all job descriptions,
Correct.
and we want to make sure that everybody's involved in the position, so we don't have any conflicts later on that, well, I didn't support that, or whatever.
I think
And I think we need to make sure that we do it properly, that we have a process that we go through.
So
We're
perhaps
subject to
the-
going to court on every little thing. We just want to make sure that we're doing things right.
it seems
the right
to me
way.
then the focus of the commissioner should be in accordance with the performance audit, which recommends having a hiring policy and procedure. That's where the commissioners could play into this,
Mhm.
rather than focusing so much on filling this one position and giving the authority to the people you've entrusted to manage the facility
Yeah.
instead.
I look at it in another way too. It's an education for us as to what the functions are of assistant DON. They could hire one, and we don't hear about it until some case comes up that they did something wrong. Then we hear about it. I'd like to know, what their function is, and if the job is really necessary. I think that's a thing that they need to convince us that the job is necessary, and then we take action on it.
And we're not telling them, excuse me, we're not telling them who they can hire or for what job. We're working on a job description.
Right. I guess, so the focus should be then on convincing you this position is necessary, how much it should be funded at, and any of the other details of it as far as actually filling the position should be left up to them.
Yeah.
And I think, Melissa, in the policy of hiring, whether you have 2 candidates and then you go outside, or you only have 1 and you don't go outside, I think that fully falls under the responsibility of the commissioners.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Laurie, did you gain some information out of attending New Hampshire Association of Counties
I did.
for your first event?
Yeah, it was actually a great event, and it allowed me to really network with other counties and director of nurses and get to know some people, even within the county that I had met. Some good education regarding the nursing home tract was pretty focused on infection control. I did reach out into some of the administrators on some of the union, which was helpful to understand the process.
Yeah, good.
How often a month do the administrators meet?
The administrators?
Excuse me, the director of nurses, I'm sorry.
I'm not aware that they meet. There is an association of director of nurses for long-term care, and I plan to join that. It's a membership.
I guess that's what I was asking.
And that's monthly.
Monthly.
It's monthly.
So
First
there's
Tuesday.
some coordination across the state and.
There is,
and
not
how we
everybody.
operate.
Again, it's a New Hampshire chapter based on a national association, but, and there's a membership fee to that. So I will be joining that. That's where a lot of the input comes from.
Thank you.
Also the nursing home.
All right, Primex does a nursing home roundtable, and different members of the county attend that. I was actually on that committee as a board of nursing member because there was nursing issues. So I hope to be involved in that as well.
Okay. Okay, our next item is public input, and Ed, you got your hand up.
In regards to hiring from within, if you do that, does the nursing home have an established
Policy.
That's
That's the word right now, is
No.
policy?
An established nepotism policy, meaning if you're going to hire within, does the county nursing home have a policy that controls nepotism? Yes or no?
There was no policy that I'm
No.
aware of.
No.
But there's an implied policy that would always be wrong and unacceptable, but that's a general management principle, but there is no county policy that I'm aware of that addresses that.
But if you hire from within, you follow a process to make sure that there's no nepotism.
Correct.
So there's no established process, there's a tradition.
A tradition, and it's a sound business management practice to not.
Well, I would suggest that a policy like that would be very good. That way, if you want to hire from within, at least you would have a safeguard to make sure there is no perceived nepotism.
I was under the understanding that Commissioner Kenney was going to draft up a policy on
Yep.
nepotism. I haven't seen it
I
yet.
was not going to draft it up, I was going to look into it and see what other counties are doing.
Have you looked into
Same
it?
thing. Have you looked into it?
I actually called 2 people and I didn't hear back, so.
So nothing has
So
been
I
done
will
regarding policy?
follow up and see what it is, but I think we should have something.
Okay.
And our first barrier at more or less addressing that is that we post it, even though it's a non-union position, and we're not obligated to post it as it's required in the collective bargaining. We do post it to be sure that everything is done in the public light, open, so that it's the greatest, nepotism is at its worst when things are done behind closed doors and secretly. So we bring the whole process out in the open at the very least, even though we're not required to. So that's our best defense against, our first line of defense against anybody that might suggest that there was anything that was less than proper in a hiring or promotion-based change.
Well, I would suggest that if Howard Chandler already has a policy that he uses, even if it's just a
Tradition.
a tradition, write it up as a policy and use it across the campus. That way, the public could never have, a question about, who you're hiring, who you're not hiring. At least that'll be over with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Thank you.
I will
Thank you.
work, I will work
Second
on the
line of
nepotism
defense,
policy that
this
will
is
be
in
countywide.
Massachusetts.
Okay.
I said our second line of defense is this is in Massachusetts.
All right, Sheriff. We got to keep moving. I'll get back to you in public input, but Sheriff, you got something?
We've got a telephone call with the Claw 11, right?
He said that he had bids,
No.
right?
No, that's.
Oh, he's coming
strictly-
here at 11, that's
Yeah.
right, that's
Yeah.
right, yep.
Is that for all of you or just Commissioner Sorensen?
Yes,
This is David.
Okay.
go
We
ahead.
had 2 cruises up for bid, sealed bid. I have 2 envelopes that don't say sealed bid that I'd like myself to open before I hand them to you, just to make sure that they're bids and not
Okay, go ahead.
other mail. But these are the others.
Does it say bids on it? What does it say on it?
A couple of them were open because the secretary gets the mail and just kind of without scanning through it. So that's, we know those are sealed bids.
So it's out of 2 cruises that you don't want anymore on need anymore, right?
They're taken out of line for the past, they were replaced by new cruisers already.
So these were all open, right? Those?
Only.
Deadline was when?
A couple of those were open.
Yeah.
Deadline was when?
Deadline was Friday the 24th, the end of the day. So that was not a bid.
Did you, are they the same cruises? I mean, is there any difference between the 2 cruises?
2008 and the 2011.
Okay.
And the high mileage, right?
Yep, the 2008 has 128,000 miles. 2011 had 118,000 miles. This is a seal bid.
118 and 120, is that what you said?
118 and 128. Yep.
128, okay.
For which vehicle?
2008 and a 2011.
All right, let's talk about the 2008 bids. I've got one here from Russell McCowan from Meredith. $2,800 for the 2008 Ford Police Cruiser.
I got a 2008 one here. Is it necessary to reveal the individual's name on these bids, or it isn't even close to the one you have?
How much is it?
Well,
It's $1,725.
okay. So as our recording secretary, you're just going to list those? 2,800, 1,700?
And
Do
this
you
is
have-
the 2008, is that correct?
That's a 2008.
Okay,
Yep.
I
there's that.
have 2008. The bid is $1,759.99.
2008?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this done on Craigslist?
Yes.
Boy, you've done a good job, Tom. We never get this kind of money for these things.
1759.
1759, that's still
This
not
was
bad.
open. Same version.
What do you get there, David?
This is a 2008 for the Ford Crown Victoria.
What's this one here?
$1,275.
So I think this is the same, so you get 2. It's at 2008, $1,759.99. This is the same.
This gentleman sent in, I guess, Ashley, right, this is the same
Yeah,
bid
that's what I
twice.
said.
You don't suppose he meant to
This is the same.
bid on the other one, do you?
That's it.
There's no, you got a 2010?
I got two, but it's the same bid.
There should be one more bid.
Oh, one more? Where is that then?
For what?
Should be 6 envelopes.
Well, I got 2011 here.
5.
Didn't you say you had
Two of the
seven?
same.
You got a 2000?
I got a 2011. $3,800.
Wow. What is that? That's just,
Yeah, this is, no, it's
Just a
nothing.
paper?
It's just empty paper.
Yeah.
we only have one bid for 2011?
What's this one here? You're not telling anybody about, Dave. That looks like it's gotta be.
That's the one I gave you, 2,800 for 2008.
So that would be all 6
Oh.
bids.
Hmm?
That would be the 6 bids.
I put 6 of it.
That's total bids?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do I hear a recommendation on this bid for 2,800 for the 2008 Ford
And where is that
Police
coming
Commissioner.
from?
from Meredith?
And who's that?
Make sure we get them right, Dave.
Do we have a name?
Yep.
Russell
For
McCowan.
2008, that's what it looks like. Okay. You wanna make the motion, Asha?
Want to make the motion that we accept that bid?
Yeah, right.
So this bid is from Russell C. McCowan. Where is the amount? 2,800. So I make a motion to accept the bid of 2,800 for the 2008 Ford Police Cruiser.
As is,
As
where
is,
is,
and by Russell C. McGowan.
Do I hear a second?
what's the motion? I wanna make sure we get it right.
The motion is to accept the bid from
Russell McGowan,
McGowan for-
2,800 for the 2008 Ford Police Cruiser as is.
as is.
As is, where is.
Yep.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Then it be unanimous. 2011.
I get the winner here for this one. Only one, right?
Sound it, yep.
I make a motion that we sell our 2011 Ford Crown Victoria to Stephen Antoniadis of Pine Hill Estates, Weir, New Hampshire, for $3,800. As is, where is.
What was the amount again?
3,800.
$3,800.
3,800.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Good
So
job,
voted.
Tom.
Thank you.
I thought they were brand-new cruisers setting out there.
Oh, no, no.
Well, look, why
They
don't
look-
we
well, they look-
advertise them as brand new?
See the rest of them, just make sure I have all the information.
What do you want this?
I just wanted to look all over, make sure I have all the amounts right and everything.
Yep.
Here is another one. Here are
That's the bid we accepted.
Why
And
would
love.
why would we
This
get
is
so many
nothing.
bids for one for
Delicious
2008 and only one bid for 2011?
That's,
Does 2011 Ford have a bad reputation, or?
no, they may have thought that it was out of the price that they may want to pay.
Okay.
The value of the 11 was, if you look on the Blue Book, it's much more valuable.
What is the Blue Book value? Do you know?
I'm not saying, but I think the 11 come up around, right around $6,000.
Around six.
Because they're all well kept too, I mean, oil changes and,
Same mileage?
yep, yep.
Let's go and get the claw sitting downstairs here at 250.
Public input.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm back. Earlier it was discussed something about the healthcare system.
Yep.
Obamacare, healthcare reform, whatever.
Yep.
I understand the documentation will take up truckloads, right?
Did what?
The documentation will take up truckloads.
Yeah,
I'm sure you read it, like I did.
yeah.
Right. Well, let me ask you something. Would you empower me to oversee your healthcare matters, your personal life, and such that the healthcare bill would allow me to do if, of course, you allow me to dictate that? Would you empower me to do that, like you
No.
empower the federal government?
What's this got to do with the county business?
It has a lot to do with it, because it concerns all of us, Commissioner Babson.
Yes, I know, but we're here for a county delegation.
This affects the county, sir.
Well, we have our
So,
choice.
so what's your point?
Everybody just gave it over to the federal government to run the healthcare.
It was voted on by Congress, right?
Yeah, there was hundreds of thousands of protesters outside the White House that night, too.
That there are representatives.
No, they're not.
Somebody has to vote, well, somebody has to vote on it.
I didn't give
Apparently
any
they
cons-
did.
I didn't give any consent to such things. But we're just going along to get along. This is what I have a problem with. Too many people represent me and I give them no,
Yeah.
okay? And it's all being taken away from you and me.
Somewhere the majority of those representatives voted in support of it.
Well, somehow.
Maybe
it's
they've
being
changed their mind
misrepresented,
since.
Somehow
okay?
they get elected.
And
by
maybe
the
maybe it'll be changed next year when we have
Yeah, right.
a new
Well,
Congress. Who knows?
Another point, just
Yep.
to take at hand, because, that's one perspective for the healthcare, but, those powers that be like to take words out of the community that's used regularly and cast down some bad reputation on them, put them in a bad light, like the word conspiracy.
Yeah.
You know why they do that? Because conspiracy is the right word. That's
Okay.
something to ponder. Now, the sheriff's department was here today about grants and so forth, and they expressed a need for communication because somehow they feel they can't communicate with the fire department, healthcare. and
It's
so
to
on and
improve
so
the
forth.
efficiency. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it makes me lead to believe that they don't have that communication. Well, in the old days, they used to ring a church bell and everybody came running.
That was the old days.
I understand
Never
that.
saved many houses.
But they lead us to believe that they don't have communication now. Excuse me?
It's the improved of communication.
A lot of money.
It is. I'll agree with that. I don't think anybody will disagree with that.
I don't even think that if it really came from the county, I don't think the county could afford it.
Well, I agree with that too.
Likewise, the next county, and the next, and the next. That's why my question was, we really need to know where this money is coming from.
You have a congressperson and a senator.
They don't know where that money comes from.
Why don't you ask them?
They don't know. I'm sure they don't know.
Have you asked them?
You know what I do in my days?
Have you you haven't asked
Every day
them?
I work, I work every day that I can, and in my off time is devoted entirely to research and education of myself and for the other entities that I do this for.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm not exposed to these things.
Mm-hmm.
I make it my business.
Okay.
So, like I said, we really need to know where this money's coming from and who the responsible entities are for forcing counties with these grants down their throat.
I think we are aware of that situation. I think Commissioner Babson has asked, are there any strings attached?
Well, I'm
And the
sure
best we
they're
can
not
do is
gonna-
get an answer from those people that have applied for the grant as to whether there are strings
Well, don't
attached.
you realize, it's a Homeland Security Grant, and the question stopped there?
Well, no, I think it depends on what we need. We apparently need a better system of communicating.
It seems to me
And
that
here's
there's
a way
people
of,
outside of the county and echelons up higher than us that
Mhm.
dictate what we need. You gotta have this, and you gotta have that. Whatever gave anybody the idea to have a Bearcat?
well, I'm not sure that we were told we had to have this. We applied for it. We need it. Other counties have already received
These
it.
ideas are spawned from somewhere.
Well, that's, I don't want to say that's life, but somebody brings it up and somebody votes on it,
Well,
somebody
money well
accepts it.
spent would be on the borders.
What's that?
Money well spent would be on the borders, and you know the federal government's doing nothing about it.
Okay.
Absolutely zero.
I know you have an 11 o'clock. Can
Thank
you,
you.
now that Commissioner Kenney's here, could you approve the October 15th minutes, perhaps?
Oh, okay.
I know you did minutes earlier, but don't you have that?
So I have-
a meeting that Commissioner Babson was in.
Can we approve this?
I have a question. Do we have to sign checks? I see you brought checks up. Is
We
that for
already
bills
brought
will be
those up
done?
earlier,
Oh,
before
okay.
you got here.
So, and what is this? about?
Let's quickly, we have an attorney that we're paying dollars for. Can we look at the October 15th meeting? Only
Yes.
you and I can approve it?
Yeah, I don't approve of it because.
You
I
don't
think-
approve of it?
I think I make a public statement and I don't see that at this hearing.
What was
But
it?
I need to reread it again. Let me see where it is.
Well, on the first page, you said you'd look up the date. I don't know if you have it on. You made the statement that said she does not want letters sent out with her name on them if she doesn't get a copy.
Oh,
That's a statement I think you made. Kenny
I
said we are
said-
still losing money by having a recording secretary prepare weekly minutes.
I was asking for the transcript or the recording. I said what we net make for the hearing of Diane Gaynor.
And that was discussed last week when Commissioner Kenney was absent. Lynette said she has the draft minutes of that session. We were able, after much discussion, to figure out what date we believe she was talking about.
I have to look it up.
And Lynette said she was only waiting for Commissioner Kenney to give her the times from that non-public session, and then they
Right.
would be official minutes.
Yep.
So if they could get together, that would solve that.
Nepotism policy, Kenny said she will see what other counties are doing.
That is what I said. I never said I was going to draft it. Yeah, no, I don't think it is really described here precisely what I said.
What is it you'd like to change?
It's what I just want to have in what I said.
In the interest.
What is it that you said that you want to have in?
I said that we net recorded that non-public hearing. That hearing was recorded, the one from Diane Gaynor, and that I didn't get any transcript nor recording. That is what I said, and it's not here.
I think we're only waiting for the date, which you said you would look up.
I did said I'm going to look up precisely the date, and I will look it up.
In the interest of time, perhaps, Mr. Chairman, if Commissioner Kenney wanted to email me what she'd like inserted, you could review these minutes next week. again.
Okay. Very good.
Maybe?
I want to have precisely what I said at the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, I already watched.
Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Do we hear a second?
Point of order, I'm sorry.
Second.
I'm still waiting for the non-public meeting minute tracking sheet, and I would like to know the progress of that.
Yes,
On the
that's
what?
right. And that's going back, this will be the fourth week.
The spreadsheet that I gave you for tracking the non-public meeting minutes.
You were going to do
And
that?
I had three dates, we
I
had three
haven't-
dates, you were waiting
I
to get
haven't-
into the safe.
I have a track sheet, so I didn't fill it yet because we still need to approve it. So if we approve the minutes, then I will fill it in. I already mentioned, I believe, like 2 weeks ago, what needs to be done, which dates we need to approve.
2 weeks ago, Commissioner Kenney, you said you had to get into the file, into the safe.
Okay.
Just,
All right.
just to look the dates, what we need.
So
That's
it's
all
not-
I did, and it was like 1.5 minutes,
All right.
All right.
just to see what
You
dates
get
we
the date of the
needed.
minutes in and we'll
Yeah.
move on. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I made
was
it.
already
You made it. You seconded it?
I seconded already.
All
and
those
she
in support of the
talked.
motion say aye.
All right.
Aye. So approved.
And